Well, yeah, I remember watching an interview with your other son, Kimball, and he was saying that around this time in South Africa, it was extremely dangerous. He was saying how some of the black groups were sort of at war with each other, where he was like, I think on a train or a bus, and one just walked up to another and just stabbed him, I think, in the head, to the point where blood just squirted all over the floor. And he said he still remembers how sticky the blood was as he was trying to walk off the train. So it was, when you talk about how violent it was, I don't think people really realize how violent it really was in South Africa during that era.
Yes. There are 11 different groups of black people in South Africa. And so when South Africa was under apartheid and they were starting to, and during the time that Elon and Kimball would have been young men, youths at that time, these groups were at odds with each other. They didn't all agree on, they weren't one voice against, let's say, the white government. They were at odds with each other, a lot. I mean, they had been for centuries foes. So, for example, the Zulus and the Xhosas are like what you call total foes. They're not, to this day. I mean, if you go to the parties in this country, the political parties, the MK is all Zulus, and the ANC is all Xhosas. And so it goes, so Xhosas are the biggest group. And so you've got these different groups, and that would have been, I wouldn't call it normal, but we did have a lot of that kind of thing. As I say, 4 days ago, a black man put a knife in the side of the lady in my life. She's 37. As she got into her car, a 10-inch knife was pressed into her side, demanding her goods, her things. She actually fought back, which was really stupid. And it was severely cut, and she's got her arm in bandages at the moment. But they managed to get away with all her things. So anyway, there were two of them. I
mean, around that time, it seemed like the world was really against the apartheid in South Africa. I remember there was a song called Sun City that came out. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where it was just a bunch of big artists that basically were saying, we're not going to play at this big, event center called Sun City in South Africa because of the apartheid. And that's when I first started noticing how, what was really going on over there. Like, from your point of view, did you feel like apartheid was going to actually survive, or was it kind of on its way out during this time?
Well, yes, your first point, I went to Sun City a lot, and at least every month an international star came. So I can tell you, I saw nearly all of them, Frank Sinatra, Anne Margaret, Lisa Minnelli, Queen, Rod Stewart, Julio Iglesias. I mean, just list goes on and on. There didn't seem to be any hesitation to come and perform at Sun City. So I'm not sure about that. Some people may have objected. I don't know.
Did you feel, at the point where there's now hit songs about apartheid in South Africa, did you feel like apartheid was going to survive for the next few decades?
Right. Okay. In 1976, we had riots in South Africa, which were later termed the Soweto riots, where African children, in their thousands apparently, or hundreds, refused to be taught, said they don't want to be taught in the Afrikaans language, the Dutch language. They wanted to be taught in English. And these riots resulted in injuries, and one, I think, child was killed, Hector Peterson, and the day is actually named after him now, the day annually to this day. Anyway, I was interviewed by, the CBS came to South Africa at that time and wanted to interview all the people that were involved in running South Africa. And one of the things they did is they went to see the youth of the Pretoria black community called Mamelodi, and the youth leader there was Andrew Masambuka, and he referred CBS to me and asked CBS to come and see me. CBS interviewed the ministers and the prime minister and the head of the Brotherhood of Afrikaners and all sorts of things. But CBS interviewed me in my home in 1976. And they asked me the same question: do you think that South Africa will continue? And I said, the way I see it, we will continue like this at least for 25 years, which would have put us at about the year 2000. I remember saying that to them, and they were critical of my observation. Of course, they were right. I was not right, and then I also said, we have gold until another 25 years. I was really not that old myself. I was still a youth, you might say, so I wasn't really too knowledgeable. But anyway, the thing is, it all really came down much sooner than that. And but as the 80s progressed, in 1985, the president, he'd become the president. They changed the name from prime minister to president. Who I knew him quite well, the president, P.W. Botha, and he made a speech in which he said that South Africa will never have a black government, ever. And this was in response to much pleading from the international community. And the result of that was massive sanctions against South Africa. And so from 1985 onwards, the situation in South Africa became extremely difficult for people like me who were doing property development. So any form of speculation in South Africa started to just fall to pieces. People who had previously worked in jobs where, it was based on future earnings and all that sort of stuff, were just leaving the country. They just had to. There was no future. There was no hope. In my own case, my work came to a dead stop. White people started moving to trailer parks. Proper white, decent white people to go and live in tents in trailer parks because they just couldn't survive. They couldn't live in their homes anymore. They had to rent their homes out and so on. And I remember in my case, I had a very large propeller-driven plane, twin-engine plane called a Cessna Golden Eagle. And I decided I'll try and sell it. I couldn't sell it in South Africa. So I set off to sell it in England because I was told if I can get it there, if it has full de-icing, they'll buy it. And I set off, and halfway there, I landed at Lake Tanganyika, and I met a Panamanian company that was building roads for the Zambian government, or an airfield and roads. I landed on that airfield on the lake itself, and they saw the airplane. They said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to sell it." They said, "They'll buy it from me and at the same price." And I was amazed, and I said, "Okay, well, great." And they paid me the same price. And then the next day or so, they said to me, if I would like to give them half the money back, they'll introduce me to, they'll help me with a supply of gemstones, in this case emeralds. And with those, I was able to get into that business, and I managed to turn it into an income-producing business, for the next 5 years.
Because I guess that you had co-owned or owned shares in 3 Zambian emerald mines?
Well, look, they had a mine, and the arrangement was that they started off by giving me about 118 cut emeralds. These are the best emeralds in the world. They are the Zambian emeralds, the best color you can get. Sorry, I'm just doing some sales here. Sales. No, they're the best emeralds you can get. And the Colombian ones are a little yellow, and the other places are a little this and a little that, but the Zambian ones are a deep green. And the arrangement was they would provide me with rough on a regular basis after that, as and when they, nothing firm. It's all a handshake. And that's how it was in Africa, really. And paperwork didn't mean much. And I became very friendly. I'm still very friendly with them. The main man unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but I'm still friendly with his wife. She's in her 80s now. And so they sent me rough on off and on. And then I would, I employed a cutter in Johannesburg at the diamond. We cut a lot of diamonds in Johannesburg in the main street. So I went to see a cutter there, and I started employing him to cut the stones for me and start selling them on my own like that, And so I did this for quite a long time. And I was able to really, I suppose, make 4 times as much as I would have by just selling the plane,
Well, this is where the story gets a little fuzzy, because Elon said that you never owned any emerald mines.
Well, that sort of story came out somehow because people were saying he didn't make himself, he didn't get success on his own in America. He had this big start, and that's not true. So the start, what we got out of the emeralds, I was a wholesaler. Now I would sell it 7 times what it cost, let's say what the base cost would be of the ore. So my markup was quite small. But it suited me because I would sell to the upper-end jewelers. The upper-end jewelers would sell it anything from 20 to 25 times what they paid me. You follow? So, I took a stone that I sold to Tiffany's in New York. There were two I sold to them. Elon and Kimball, as I recall, took the stones there first. But anyway, I sold one for $800 to Tiffany's. They said, and the other one was $1,200. They said we should come back and see them mounted. A few days later, I went back and they showed me the $800 stone mounted. And it was in the cabinet for sale. And I've often asked, the average person doesn't quite get it, but jewelers will give you the right answer. I said, how much do you think they wanted for it? Well, they wanted $21,500 for it. $21,500. So that's different. My income from the emeralds was sustained us. It just sustained us through difficult times, and it wasn't like we were high-end jewelers or anything like that. It's like anybody who has a diamond claim somewhere. That doesn't mean they're just finding diamonds every day. You might find one a year.